on here from our home. Hopefully next time you hear us sing, we'll be in church. So we look forward to hopefully seeing you in September. Enjoy the worship.
For
eyes lay hold of your dreams, your heart it burns with the kiss that he has given. You will see that it's his love that carried us. It's his love. Oh, oh, it's his love that carried us through. When a cage bird sings, when your eyes lay hold of your dreams, your heart burns with the kiss that he has given. You will see, that it's his love that carried us. It's his love. Whoa, whoa, it's his love that carried us through.
Good morning, Cornerstone. My name is Pastor Kelsey. For those of you who don't know me, I am so excited to be on your screen for the next 2 weeks as we do a mini series called God is Where We Are and Where We Are Going. Last week, Pastor Sean talked about while we are in our waiting, and he finished off our 3-part series on what we do in our waiting and how we connect with God during it. He mentioned about being encouraged to know that God is with us, which made me jump onto this topic because I want to expand on and dive into it a little more with you today. As I was thinking about Pastor Sean's message last week, throughout this past week, I got into the idea of locations and going places. And sometimes in our culture, we need to be 2 places at once, or 4 places at once, or 10, depending just on how busy you are. Right now, our world is going through this shifting period of slowing down and ramping back up just to see where we are with everything that is going on around the globe right now. I know when COVID first began, I myself was struggling with settling down a little bit and staying in one place when I'm used to the go, go, go of life. When COVID did begin, I was home with my brothers and we went online and we found this website where you could actually be 2 places at once. It was the London Zoo. They had taken these virtual tours which you just clicked on the internet, and you could see every exhibit that they had, all their animals and the aquariums and all these things, and it felt like you were there from the comfort of your own home. That was an adventure that we loved and we went on all the time, and I would highly recommend it. See, I love a good adventure. I love going places and seeing new things and trying out new things, and it doesn't matter where it is or what it is, I just love to go. When I was 17, I moved to Ontario by myself. I didn't know anybody, I didn't really know where I was going to. I had applied for a school there, and I went and I hopped on the plane and I left. And I loved it. I was so excited for this new adventure. And when I got there, I made this rule that I wanted to get to know the city I was in. And so every weekend I left my dorm and I hopped on a bus and I got off at a random stop, and then I found a subway and I got off on another random stop, and wherever I found myself, I had to do 2 things. I had to find a restaurant that I enjoyed, and then I had to find a new attraction that was fun, whether that was a park or a shop or another outing space, wherever it was. I wanted to find one in every part of the city that I went. And I loved this. I loved the adventure and the unknown and the exploration of it all. And while I loved it, it also worried my parents a little bit. I was young and I was on my own and I was exploring, and so we made this deal that if I went on one of my excursions, I would send my location on my phone to my mom. And that way she would know where I was at all times, even if I didn't. And for the majority of all these adventures, the exciting part was that I didn't really know where I was until I was leaving. And I loved it, and it was so fun. And there are other people who, like me, who love those adventures. And some of them can be exciting, and then some of them can be really hard. Sometimes we find ourselves in places in our lives that just don't really make sense, and we're not sure how we got here on this path to get to the destination that we know we're excited for. Whether that is your new job or a new relationship or a new career or school or outing, or you're building on your own character, whatever it is, we find ourselves on these journeys, on these adventures in life that can be so exciting but also kind of terrifying. And so as I was thinking on this week, with the understanding that God is with me wherever I go. And that means he's with me on my journeys for my new job, and he's with me when I was romping around in Toronto and trying to find my way. If he is with me in all of those things, that must be a pretty big deal. And so this week I was looking through the Bible, and I wanted to be able to bring this topic to life for you guys. And so I looked into the Old Testament. And so that's where we're going to go today. We're going to talk about the Israelites. And they had this wild adventure that is super long and full of all these details. So today we're going to go and do a snapshot of it and just see some different places in their story when God was with them and what that looked like and how it felt and all of those other things. And so to begin, we find ourselves in the book of Exodus. And we're learning of these people called the Israelites. And it tells us that they are God's chosen people, that he loves them, that these are his children, and they're in slavery. And so God sends this man named Moses and his co-partner or co-missionary or pastor, or whoever you want to word that, with him, named Aaron. And they go to this Pharaoh who's holding all of these Israelites captive, and he says, let these people go. They are God's people. They deserve freedom. And after a long time, they escape. And so these Israelites who are rejoicing for their freedom and are praising God for it are leaving, and they're walking through the desert to get to this land that God has promised them. He says that you are my children. I'm going to get you into a land that is full of milk and honey, that you can celebrate in, that you can rejoice in, that will sustain your life, that will help you to flourish. You'll never be hungry. You'll never want, because I am going to give you this promised land. And so after they escape the slavery, they're on their journey, and as they go, they start to worry, because how are they going to get there? You know, they know that God had just saved them. He knows that they had just set them free, but the doubt comes in. Those human feelings that we get of fear and of trembling and of worry and concern of how we're going to do these things starts to take over. And God reminds them again, it's okay, I've got you, we have a plan, let's head to the Red Sea. And as they do this, word gets back to Pharaoh that they've escaped, and he gets angry, and he sends an army after them to bring them back. And as they get to the Red Sea, the Israelites are panicking again, because how in the world are they going to get across this gigantic ocean? And God speaks to them, and he says, just watch what I am going to do for you. And if you've heard this story before, you know that the sea splits open and dry land is found, and the Israelites are able to escape the Pharaoh and his army by walking through the Red Sea on dry ground safely. They get to the other side, and they are rejoicing and singing, and they turn back, and the Pharaoh's army is after them, and the waves come crashing down, and God had saved them. It tells us in Exodus 12, 13, and 14 that they sing a song of rejoicing, of praise and excitement for all that God had done. They say that they're going to teach this to their grandchildren so they never forget what God has done for them. And so they continue on this journey. And what's so exciting about this is that if you read in the fine print, in the details and the interpretations, and look into the original language of this passage, It tells us that God actually took them the longer way to get to the promised land. Because while it could have only taken a couple days, he says he's going to take you a little longer. It's going to take a little bit more time. And he's going to go this way because it's going to be safer for them. It tells us that God decides to take them the longer route because that way they don't have to face as many battles or as many different tribes or different people who are going to put up a fight with them, so that they can be safer and that they'll be okay going to the place and the destination that he has designed for them. And how beautiful is it to know and to read that and to know that God, in the very beginning, before they even set out on their journey, had a specific place for them to land. A specific route that was going to be a little easier for them because he loved them and wants to work with them and to be on their side. And so on their way, the story continues that they crossed and they celebrated and rejoiced, and it was a wonderful time. And then the doubts start coming back. They had been traveling for a couple days and they're hungry. They're crying out for food. They tell Moses, their leader, why did you leave us and take us from our slavery only to bring us to the wilderness to suffer? And they're upset and they're complaining and they're worried. Where's their next meal going to come from? The water that they find is bitter and it makes them ill, so they can't drink it. And so Moses goes to God and brings their complaints to him. And he says, why are you doubting me? I just split the sea for you. Of course I'm going to provide for you. And so as the day goes on and they wake up the next morning, there is manna on the ground for them. A hearty meal that they can have to sustain them on their journey. But with it comes instructions from God. Take what you need today to show that I have provided for you, and then tomorrow I will do it again. Take this proof and this evidence that I am on your side and I am with you, and know that I can do it again. And so some of them, they listen to these instructions and they take only what they need for today and they're full. And they thank God and they rejoice. And then others decide that, I still have a little fear and I still have a little doubt, and they take some extra. And the next morning when they wake up, the bread that they had taken, the manna that they had taken before, was rotten. It is unable to eat, yet God had provided them fresh manna all over again. This happens 2 or 3 times before they understand that God is going to provide for them, and again they begin to rejoice on their journey. So they continue, and there's some other things that happen on their story. They have the Ark of the Covenant, and they build a tabernacle, and they experience some more doubts and some more fears. And we get the 10 Commandments from this passage as they are on Mount Sinai. And Moses is up on the mountain talking to God and learning different ways so that he can teach God's children how to relationship with him. How to learn to live and to love and to worship and to grow with God in that community. But as Moses is up there learning all these things from God, preparing to bring it back down to his people, the people get anxious. They get impatient. They get worried, and they decide that we're actually going to go and build this golden calf, and we're going to worship it, and we're going to put some sacrifices for it, and we're going to do all that we can because maybe they'll give us the guidance we need right now in this very moment. When you read the story, it seems like they had completely forgotten all the wonderful things that God had done for them. And so they build this in there, and they're waiting for instructions from this golden calf, and Moses comes down, and he's so sad. He's disappointed. He tells them, but this is what God had wanted for you. Remember what he had done. Remember all the things that have come before this. God will provide. He is on our side. He has never left us. And so the calf is destroyed, and the people repent, and God deals with them, and he's hurt and he's angry. And it tells us that the scriptures tells us that God is angry and he deals with the people in his own way. And then they continue. They're still in the wilderness, and they're still going, but again, they have decided that, okay, God, I'm coming back. I know I messed up, but we're going to keep going. And we get through the story, and more things like this happen, and we get into Numbers and Deuteronomy, and it's filled with all these lessons that God is teaching his people on how to grow, how to be in community with one another, how to respect other people, how to treat your family, how to treat your friends and your neighbors and your loved ones, how to deal with people who disagree with you, how to handle different rules and laws of the land that are coming upon you, how to do all of these things. And in that, there are times of doubt and there are times of fear. And we read when the Israelites were lost and they didn't know what to do, and God still reached down and said, I get it. I know you're feeling this way, but I'm with you. Deuteronomy is kind of the ending of this story, and it's Moses' last letter. He knows that his time with the Israelites is coming to an end, and he knows he has to pass on leadership to another, Joshua, and he spends Deuteronomy teaching and reiterating this reminder that God is with you. In Deuteronomy 31, verse 8, Moses is passing on this title to Joshua. It's their final moments of, this is it, I'm giving you leadership, listen to God. And he says this. He says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. Them being anything that comes against you, any battle, any tribe, any distraction or redirection that comes in your way and when you're on the path that God has given you. So do not be afraid, do not be terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And this is the constant reminder that Moses is giving these people. They continue on, and Moses passes on, and Joshua takes over. And as they're entering into the promised land, as they are so close after what could have taken 10 days and has now taken 40 years because of their hurt and because of their fear and because of their doubt and the lessons that they needed to learn on the way, before they enter, Joshua reminds the people again, be strong and courageous. Do not doubt, for the Lord your God is with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And this story continues, and it's really massive, and there are so many different points that we can pull from it. The Israelite story is long, and it is filled with human interactions with God and how he deals with us when we are hurting and when we are lost and when we feel broken, when our faith is a little shaky. But God's love is never ending. That when we feel like we are lost and when we are on our own, that God is actually there and watching us. He knows where we are, and he just wants us to partner with him. What I love about the story is that while it is filled with different acts of rebellion and with human emotion-driven actions where we let our feelings take over what we know and our logic kind of slips and our trust kind of slips and we give in to those feelings of, oh man, what is going on, is that there is so much evidence of God still being there. God doesn't leave them. He doesn't cast them away. He doesn't tell them that it's over, that he never wants to see them again, that the trust is broken. He just simply says, I want you to be in partnership with me, in wholehearted commitment to our relationship together. That's what God is asking for. And that message can be found all throughout the Bible, not only with God and the Israelites, but with different places and where different people find themselves that God shows up. Whether it is with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fire, whether it is with Jonah in the belly of a whale, or Mary as she's getting ready to birth the Messiah. Wherever it may be, whatever the situation is, God shows up. In the New Testament, Jesus talks about being with us and walking with us and talking with us and the Holy Spirit joining us in relationships so that we have this connection with God that gives us evidence and proof that he is never too far, that he is always with us. There are so many different places that we can look and see that. But this passage in the New Testament where he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, know that sticks out. That is words directly from God, knowing and saying to his children that he's on our side, that wherever we go, God is there. You see, the Israelite passage is huge, and there are so many different key points that we could take from it. But today I want to focus on two. The first is this. God is with you even when we are unsure where we are. Despite our human emotions, despite how we feel, despite all of these things, all of these extras, wherever we are, God is with us. He is in our deep, dark valley. He is in us in our new job interview. He is in us when we're starting school for the first time, or going to a new city, or trying a new relationship, or in an argument with our parents, or when we're confused about what our kids are doing and the things that they're trying. Wherever we find ourselves, whether it is excitement and joy and a brand new adventure that we can't wait to get on, or whether it's a path that's a little shaky and a little dark and we're a little scared, wherever it is, God is there. He is in our celebrating and He is in our confusion. God is always with us, and He always knows where we are. And second of all, what we can learn from the Israelites is that God is with us and He wants us to be with Him, to participate in active relationship with Him, to bring our fears and our doubts and our concerns to Him. That when we are wondering, like, hey God, I'm feeling this way and I'm lost, I need You, to know that we can say that, to know that we can be there and that we can ask questions and that we don't have to wander alone because God is right next to us, and sometimes we just need to acknowledge the reminder that He is. God is with us. And while we are not the Israelites and we're not in the wilderness running around and trying to find this promised land, we are on a journey in our own lives. And sometimes it feels like we're crossing the Red Sea or approaching the Red Sea and we need help. And sometimes it's the victory afterwards, or we're excited and we're celebrating. And sometimes we just feel like we're walking in circles, and we're sitting at the top of a mountain and looking on how to get over it. But wherever it is, God is there. This was a wild adventure for them, and if you read the story yourself, you can find even more about what they went through and how they got through it and what God was doing and where He was in all of it. And I think about those adventures, and while I am not an Israelite and while I wasn't in the wilderness, I have been on some adventures with God on my own. And I have gone on adventures in my life that I didn't really get. One thing I didn't tell you about my story when I was in Toronto was that I had one rule. And that was whenever I went out, after sending the location to my mom, is that I put my phone in my pocket and I didn't take it out until I was home. That meant that I wasn't allowed to Google where I was, I wasn't allowed to ask for directions or search up a restaurant that I wanted to check out. I had to do this and find the path. I would remember the number I needed to bus to get home. I knew the subway station I had to get off at. I knew those things, but sometimes in the middle of my adventure, in the middle of my exploring, I forgot the key thing I needed to remember. And I would get frustrated and I would get angry at myself or angry for forgetting the things that I knew that I know. And it would be hard and difficult, and I would be upset and questioning and doubt, and I would get down on myself, or I would get down on the destination that I was in and think that maybe Toronto wasn't for me, maybe this adventure that I was on isn't actually the path that I need to take. And those would happen because I'm human and I get frustrated and I get lost and I forget. But during those times, there are some distinct ones now looking back where I remember my mom calling and I would pull out my phone and answer, and it's the first time I had looked at my phone in 6 hours because I've been walking in circles, and my mom would say, hey Kelsey, I heard this is like a wonderful place, maybe you should check it out. And she would remind me that she actually knows where I am because she can see it, even if I can't. She would give me little hints and little redirections and reminders that, like, it's okay, and you can get back on your path, and you're gonna get home, you're gonna get to your destination just fine. You just need to take a minute and remember. And looking back, I didn't realize she was doing that, but I'm so thankful that somebody else knew where I was when I was on this journey. Because sometimes I knew, And sometimes I had it down pat and there was no questions about it. I made it home without a problem. I got to my destination, had a wonderful time. The adventure was super exciting and I loved it and I rejoiced. And there were other times when it was dark and raining and dreary and I was lost and I just really needed some help. And God does that with us. When we are in relationship with Him and when we talk to Him and when He guides us and we trust in that, even when we have fears and even when we have doubts, the path is there. And I don't know if this relates to you, I don't know if this makes sense to you, and maybe it's just my own desire for adventure clicking in. But wherever you are, and whatever adventure you are on, whether you are getting ready to send your kids to school or you're getting ready to homeschool them, or whether you're looking for a new job because COVID closed it down, or whether you're trying to figure out these turnarounds where your significant other goes away and you have to figure out family life at home, or when you've just lost someone, or you're trying to figure out how to pay bills or how to get to a new place, or you're starting a new career, or whatever it is, whatever journey you are on, wherever you are or wherever you feel like you're going, I want to remind you today that you're not alone and that God is right with you. He hasn't lost sight of you in your wilderness, and He certainly hasn't lost sight of you in your celebrating. Wherever you are on your path, wherever you are on your journey, know that God is right there with you. And you can ask questions and you can have concerns and you can bring them to God. And it's okay to have those things because all He wants is to relationship with you. All He wants is to talk to you and to share with you and to go on these new exciting things with you and to be with you when you're scared and when you're wondering and all of those things. So as you go this week, wherever that may be, if that is on a staycation with family, if that is on your day off and you're sitting in your home, or if you're out and exploring and trying new things or preparing and trying to see what the next steps are, wherever it may be, I pray this week that you feel God with you in a new way, with a new excitement or a new curiosity or whatever that looks like, and whatever you need on the path right now, I am praying that you see it and you feel it and you dive head first into it. And if this isn't your thing, if you're not really into the walking with God and talking with God, that's okay. Know today that there are people who love you, that there is someone who wants to be with you in every step of the way, and whenever you're ready and whenever you're wanting that person, know that they are there. That God is there, that we at Cornerstone are with you and for you, and we are so excited to be on your side. I pray this week is wonderful for you. I hope you have an incredible day, and let's pray before we close it. God, you are so good and so wonderful, and we thank you so much for all that you have and in all that you are. God, as we go about this week on our journey, on our new adventure, whether it is exciting or full of curiosity or a little bit of intimidating, God, whatever it may be, I pray that we find you there. That our eyes shift to you and the things that you are putting in our places, the supports and the connections and all these things that you have designed for us, that we see them a little more this week. That we recognize that God is with us. Wherever we are, no matter where we go or what part of the path we are on, that you are there. Thank you so much that we can connect this way, God. Thank you so much that we are able to be there for one another, even if we are still 6 feet apart. Be with us this week. We love you so much. Thank you for all you do. Amen. Cornerstone, I love you. I can't wait to see you again. I hope this week, wherever you are on your adventure, that it is so wonderful, that you feel the presence of God with you wherever you go, and know that we are always here for you. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.